Have you ever wondered why some people that are much older than you, sometimes they look much younger, and the other way around? Especially the ladies. We compare a lot between ourselves. The guys, they don't do much, but we do among ourselves, right? My grandma was to say that when we're born, once we're born, there is something for sure, that it's the fact that we're going to die. It's quite a bit of a funny thought, right? But that is our reality. So when we are children, and you saw just the children here, the children usually don't think at all that one day they're going to die. Sadly, if their grandparents die, they might come back to the parents and say why the grandparents, they have died. That's naturally. But they are too busy in their lives to think that one day they will die. Teenagers, they think they never die. They're never going to die. And they do the most crazy things because in their minds, they will never die. But then we proceed. We carry on with our studies, with our works, until one day we find someone that person is interesting, and we are always busy, and anyway, we might get married, have the children, and we forget a little bit about life until one day we woke up, we look in the mirror, and there is some wrinkles here. What's going on? And we find ourselves after the school rush and all these things that actually we are not teenagers any longer. We are not 30s, and we are already on late 30s, 40s. And we start here from our colleagues at work the word retirement. And it's when we start realizing that we're not going to live forever. And we need to start thinking and counting how many years we have more to live. I'm already on that stage. I used to say, Hannah says, this month is your birthday. And you're going to be half a century, the way she puts. And I said, yes, I'm going to be half a century. Oh, great. Anyway, we cannot do anything about it. All of us are getting older, even the children. But what we would like is to get older, but happy and healthier at the same time. So the key thought here is we want to live longer, but healthier and happy. I don't think no one wants to live longer and miserable. And if someone wants that, that's not natural, because we have been created by God, and of course, God is love and merciful, and He wants us to be happy. So today I'm going to talk about the telomere effect. I have been reading a book, so I cannot claim this title, which is the Telomere Effect. It's a very good book. I will come back to this, which actually explains everything about the telomeres, and was written by Elizabeth Blackburn, that actually is one of the Nobel Prize winners for the telomere discovery. And, to talk a little bit about telomeres, I need to tell you a little bit about, and I will try to do this as simple as possible, about the science. But, Ellen White, on the year of 1881, on a review and arrow, she wrote that the highest important that men and women, it is very important for men and women to be instructed in science about the human body. Why? Because it's the best means to preserving and acquire health. So I'm going to follow this thinking of Ellen White, and I'm going to instruct you in the next minutes a little bit about what is this telomere, effect. And as I said, to understand the telomere effect, or the telomeres, you need to understand a bit what is it. And I hope the science doesn't get too much bored. I tried to make it as simple as possible. And working with telomeres and telomere science is very, very, very complicated. And as much as scientists discover, as more things we realize that we don't know. So, we have a human body, and in our human body we have cells. And those who next year are going to do the biology GCSEs, ERC, is a good start. And inside our cells, and we have thousands of cells, many, many different types of cells. And inside our cells, we have our DNA. And I think this is, everyone knows about that. And the DNA just exists because we are not bacteria, you know. In bacteria, the DNA is all spread all over the place. But in human cells or mammalian cells, our genetic code is inside the nucleus. And people sometimes, they say, oh, the chromosomes, and things that DNA is always packed in chromosomes. The reality is that our DNA inside the nucleus is like a spaghetti. Exists like a spaghetti plate, is not organized, is always like that. And when the cell decides that it's time to divide, this DNA starts organizing itself. And so you can see it starts coiling and coiling and coiling in a certain way that then we have the chromosomes inside our nucleus. Remember, we have about 2 meters long of DNA inside each cell, okay? And that 2 meter long DNA that exists as a spaghetti needs really to find a way, and by coiling, into reorganize itself into chromosomes. So I think this is not very difficult to understand, or this is complex. So our cells, before divide, they organize themselves in chromosomes. And this is a picture of real chromosomes. And as I speak with you, our cells divide, they die, they reproduce, and this is happening all the time. Some cells, they last hours, other cells, they last days, and depends on the cell type. Doesn't happen with our neurons, because neurons, they don't replicate. So once they are dead, they are dead. Otherwise, someone finds out in the future that this actually is not true. So they look like these little crosses, and each ones are different from another, and this is what makes us humans. And I think it's very beautiful. So telomeres, what are the telomeres and what they have to do with our chromosomes? So this lady called Elizabeth Blackburn, that's the author of this book, in 1985, she was very young, she was a postdoc, and in the lab she found something that she gave the name of telomeres. And these telomeres are just stretches of our DNA that exist at the end of our chromosomes. And these stretches of DNA, they repeat themselves. So I don't know if you are able to see, but at the bottom of the slide, I have a bit of example of telomere. So we have GGTTA and then GGTTA, GGTTA. And it doesn't matter which color you are, black, white, green, blue, doesn't matter your size. All of us, we have the same sequence in telomeres. So this is the human telomeres. And she found out as well that the human race, human people, we have, or we are born with different lengths of telomeres. So we have an average. But some people are born with shorter telomeres, other people are born with longer telomeres. And unfortunately, you cannot see yeah, that black region is just a picture of the chromosomes where they attach a small dye to your telomeres and you can see them. So what actually this means, and she has realized as well that all animals, they have telomeres on their chromosomes, but with different sequences. And among the animal species, some animals, they have longer telomeres, other ones, they have shorter telomeres. And Elizabeth is a very, let's say, friendly person. She's an excellent speaker. And of course, above all, she's a very good scientist. And all scientists are very stubborn. We don't get very much satisfied with first answers. As much as you discover, as much as you want to know. Unfortunately, it's a bit of addiction. So she found out more that when the cells in our body replicate, they divide, the telomeres, they start getting shorter and shorter. Right? So what this means for us, and again, you cannot see everything on the bottom part of the slide. So we have a cell, and as we progress in age, this cell, the telomeres in our chromosomes, start getting shorter and shorter. And what this means is, by the time our cells, our chromosomes are totally depleted of telomeres, there is two options for our cells in our bodies. They die, and this is a good thing, or they become dormant. If they become dormant and nothing else happens, it's fine, but dormant cells are sometimes not very good because they can cause cancer. So I have it here, another slide which shows that this is what actually happens in our life. As we progress in life, the size of our telomeres, they start shrinking. So the first bar is basically the size of our telomeres when we are born. Then by the time of more or less middle age, you can see our telomeres are already knocked by half. And around 65, we have even shorter telomeres. And shorter telomeres in our bodies means that we have a higher propensity to develop cancer. And the telomere shortage or erosion are actually the main responsible for our wrinkles, for our gray hair, for making us feeling tired, and to make us to feel that we are aging. However, over Elizabeth's career, she and her PhD students, they found out that actually there is a protein in our bodies called telomerase, or telomerase, that as much our base pairs are cut, right, the telomerase comes and replaces the base pairs. And this, it's very interesting because this makes us that aging, or get to old age by 80 years old and not 40 years old or even 30. So in a sense, the existence of telomerase delays slightly the aging process. Now, there is a good part of this story and the bad part of this story. Telomerases in our cells, they only exist in very, very low amounts, okay? When we start having large amounts of telomerase, our cells, they never die, and this means we have cancer, okay? So cancer cells are cells that became very clever, and they were able to develop production of telomerase all the time, and they basically have key to immortality. So we want to have telomerase in very, very low amounts in our bodies and far from have them in large amounts. We can, nowadays it's very easy, you take a blood sample and you can have your telomeres measured, but you don't have the telomerase measured. The day you have telomerase measured by the doctors is because they have the suspicion you have cancer. So, do you remember telomerase was discovered in 1985? In the year of 2009, Elizabeth and her PhD student at that time, and as well Jack, they got the Nobel Prize in physiology for the discovery of telomeres and telomerases. It's very, very important in cancer research. And at that time, everyone believed that was just that. And the things progressed, and Elizabeth and another person, they carry on the research on this. And they found something very interesting. And, you know, I have been basically, let's say, all my life working in science, and I like science very much. And one of the things I like working as a scientist is because I see a lot of God's wonders and God's works. You see, we are blessed that, after all, we still have the telomerases to compensate a little bit of the base pairs of the telomeres. And this is very important. So this is basically the background behind telomeres. So the lesson about this short biochemistry lecture is we all have telomeres. The telomeres, they get shorter and shorter as we age. And we have a protein that is called telomerase, which adds some base pairs to avoid this fast losing of the telomeres. And you might say, why do we need just the telomeres? Why we just don't have just the chromosomes? Of course, remember that the chromosomes are basically our DNA all packed. So can you see these shoelaces, right? Imagine this is your chromosome, whoever it is. And then on the shoelaces, we have these little things, right? This is to protect your shoelace. So what's happened if I cut here? It starts all disintegrating. And this is one of the main functions of the telomeres in our chromosomes, is to avoid that our DNA will just, disintegrate. So it's very important. And for those who believe in evolution, I don't know how many years has taken to evolution to find out that telomeres were needed in order to avoid our DNA and our chromosomes to disintegrate, right? I leave you to think about it. So, the telomere effect. What is this thing? So the telomere effect, basically, as I put it there on that slide, is the capacity of, or the human ability to live longer, and healthier by delaying the telomere erosion. Okay, so, or sometimes some human beings are actually able to increase a bit the telomeres. And this is very good news. And these scientists, they knew a lot about that. So basically, we are able to delay the erosion of the telomeres, and this makes us able to what? To live longer. I think all of us want to live longer and healthier, right? So this is a very interesting thing. So how we can take care of our telomeres? I like this illustration. Imagine you are on a motorway driving, and usually motorways, they have 3 lanes. They can have more, but imagine one with 3 lanes. And you have 3 options on the motorway, right? You can go on the fast lane, and you go at all full speed, if you have a big car, and right? But when you are on the motorway in very high speed, let's say, over the national speed limit, you have the option to move into another lane and slow down a bit, correct? And you can even move into another lane and slow it even more. And if you think your car has a problem, you can even have the option of stopping the car on a hard shoulder. But let's forget stopping the car. So with the telomere effect is very much the same. It has been found that us, humans, we have the ability to slow down the telomere erosion. And by slowing down the erosion of our telomeres, we are able to expand our life and not just increasing the number of years we can live, but actually live it much healthier. Okay? So, go back again to the point where I started. When we think that, oh, that person is 55 years old and looks like 35 and doesn't stop and does a lot of things, I'm sure has long telomeres. And if you think that 35 is always feeling tired, oh, this is a miserable world, oh, and this is, I'm sure that is going really fast to the telomere shortage, okay? So, Elizabeth and Elisa Appel, they work quite a lot on the telomere effect. And my husband bought the book, and it's a very good book, and I started reading it and said, this is really good. I work a little bit on telomere research during my postdoc in cancer research in London, and of course, I have some sort of attachment to this to the subject. And there are so many research papers about this. How can we slow down the telomeres erosion? And I will show you just a few ones because you are not scientists, but it's good for you to know where this comes from. There is this particular paper. And for those who like to take notes, it's a great paper, doesn't have much technical jargons, everyone is able to read. And this paper says, from 2013, says stress and telomere biology. And in this paper, they say many things, and at some point they said that the study has revealed that stress has emerged as a major influence on telomere erosion. Probably this is not much new to you, but it's very interesting. And then they go on and saying that our stress life might have a strong impact on the telomere maintenance, starting from the birth. Then they as well decided to what's going on for people who sleep. You see, a few weeks ago I thought I need to sleep 8 hours a day, and I was trying sleep 8 hours a day, and last week actually I got it. This week that just passed, I felt miserable. And it was really, probably I slept about 6. And the study says that women, ladies, under 15 years old who slept than 6 hours, they have on average, shorter telomeres than the ladies who sleep longer, from 7 to 9 hours. And as well, they said that people who have problems in sleeping, they as well have shorter telomeres. And stress in nowadays is something that almost anyone can escape of it, right? I never heard anyone saying, I never felt any stress in my life. And society nowadays, what is the word of the society today? Faster, faster, and faster, right? Everything needs to be faster. Now, you send an email, and what's happened? If no one responds in 10 minutes, you start getting nervous. Maybe the person didn't get it. If I email my scientist about some information, after 15, 20 minutes, I start thinking it's best to go to the lab and say why they are not replying to me, because I need this information now, right? And the jobs, we work and work and work. And why? Because we need to work quite a lot, because if we work a lot, the boss gets happy. And if the boss gets happy, we get a promotion, and this means more money. And we can buy a bigger house, we can have a bigger car. Imagine they arrive at church with a big car. Look, I have this big car. And you have a bigger house, and then as well, so this is the life stress. not good for your telomeres, I can tell you. So you might get the house, you might get the car, and even a good job, but then eventually you're going to die much younger, so there is no point. So think about it, right? And there is an additional point of stress is not just the work and thing, is about the clicks on Facebook. How many people did the likes? Oh, I post something on the Facebook, how many likes? Just 5 likes because I put a very good news from the BBC News. But once I said, oh, I have a bigger house, oh, I have 300 likes because people are looking to the pictures that I took from my brand new house, and that's what people like. And tweets, how many tweets? Okay, there is a lot of statistics from Facebook, how many likes you got in a month and how many tweets. So life is very stressful and very bad for our telomeres. So stress, for sure, and sometimes we don't sleep so well as well because we are behind all our electronic gadgets. And as I say, many research has been done that is not just made up by Elizabeth on this book, but there is a lot of research on that. Carry on the same paper, they as well emphasize the exercise and fitness. And they said that people who are athletes or do some sort of exercise, they have longer telomeres, right? And this is very good. Well, start walking. You don't need to walk a lot, but you remember, church walk this afternoon. So if you are thinking about your telomeres, don't forget to join the church walk. Shorter telomeres are associated with obesity. You know, obesity is really, really a sad thing, and is really a big problem in our society. I can even show you that, and this is something that UK now became the leading country in Europe regarding to obesity, in particular children obesity. There is only one country in the world who can be best than UK regarding to this, is the United States, okay? I'm not talking about a person that is large because of a medical condition. I'm talking about obesity, and obesity it's a consequence of overeating or not exercising, okay? I'm not talking about a person, as I said, that is large because some sort of medical condition. So obesity is really a problem, and obesity is directly related to diabetes type 2, depression, and of course, cancer. So finally, when I was reading the paper, at the bottom of the paper, they carry on like that. And they said, eating food high in fiber and vitamins are related to longer telomeres, where eating processed meats and foods high in polyunsaturated fats is related to shorter telomeres. And I can tell you, the authors of this publication are not from the Newbold Health Ministry, okay? So there is no bias on here. So I found it very interesting. And another thing is about substance use. Well, before I go into the substance use and just on the previous topic, if you Google telomerase or telomeres, there is a lot of products to sell, to buy. And all them saying that if you buy these products, your telomeres start growing, right? And if you take telomerase as well, you become younger and younger. I can tell you, please don't buy that. It's absolutely rubbish. And there is actually a bit of a problem. You can have cancer from having this. You can develop cancer by eating and taking these products, while I never saw anyone die from cancer because he's eating a lot of foods in high fiber and vitamins. So just think about that. Then, of course, they related again, excessive of alcohol consumption, cigarettes, smoking, and tobacco has been associated with shortage telomeres. Here, recently. So that's the body, right? That's the way we humans can treat our body in order to avoid erosion of our telomeres or maintain our telomeres. But recently, again, a study done by no Adventists, they start realizing that there is another key factor on telomere maintenance, and this has to do with meditation. People who meditate, and you don't need to go to Tibet, right? They found out that usually are linked to longer telomeres. And on the paper below said loving kindness meditation means contemplation and thinking about something that is good, right? Is related to longer telomeres. And I like the study at the bottom says practice meditation is associated with longer telomeres in ladies, and I'm sure it's the same for men. It's just that for some reason they were just doing that particular research was focused in ladies. And here it is, telomere lengthening after 3 weeks of intensive inside meditation retreat. So this was experiment. Right. So we know, I already gave you a bit of overview, how to live longer, right? And I'm going to tell you. When I start reading this book that says living younger, healthier and longer, this is what everyone wants, correct? And I start reading, and as I said, it's a very good book, and I read and read, and then I said, you see, there is a lot, because it belongs to my husband, I didn't want to write on it. It has a lot of stickers, right, of more interesting parts. When I got to the end, I don't think I found anything new on this book. You know, it's very interesting science, but the way they said to maintain the telomeres, I have not found anything new. You know, let's see. I'm just going to scroll very quick because we don't want to be here all day. The author of the book summarized the way we should have, the way we should maintain our telomeres. And one of the things is that she says, be active and exercise. Well, you can see it. Ellen White, in the year of 1870, said we should exercise, walk even in the winter. It's very beneficial to health. And we are more than 100 years ago, and years before the discovery of the DNA, and much less telomerases and telomeres. But we already had this, what? Advice, right? Then, the book authors as well, they say, develop a sleep ritual, and these are the consequences of all this intense research, develop sleep ritual. Again, Ellen White manuscripts, they said, give yourself proper time to sleep. And says that if you sleep and give the time, will build up and repair the weary waste of the organs. And when I read this, I'm wondering, where did she get this information? There was no Google at that time. The scientists have not discovered DNA. The medicine would never link our cells with the health. I'm not sure really where she got these things. And the more interesting is on the same manuscript, she says the number of hours sleep generally should go from 7 to 9. I can tell you, science only started saying this since 10 years ago, not since 100 years ago. Eat mindfully. Choose telomere healthy foods. Again, 1903, what Ellen White says, again and again, I have shown that God is trying to lead us back to what? To our original design. Consume natural products. Doesn't need that. You don't need to become vegetarian, but it's just emphasize, eat vegetables and fruits. And I said, okay. And another thing that she says in the book is, seek green. Have contact with the nature. Is not what we're supposed to do? Usually on Sabbath afternoon, like today. My husband was on the way from home saying, today is the day, look very good. I'm going for a walk of 2 hours around Virginia Water Lake. Who is joining me? And they said, I'm going. I said, no one is replying in this car. And he was saying, we need to walk. And I said, yeah, just drive. And Hannah said, yeah, whatever, yes, we go. And that's life, you know. But remember what was said before, even during the winter, you don't need to walk 2 hours, just walk for 20 minutes between the rain, while the rain stopped. But now came another thing, that is the mind. It has been discovered that one way to maintain your telomeres and actually even increasing is to practice awareness and become more what? Compassionate. Is not this what God taught us to be? God is what? A compassionate God and gracious God. And we have here 2 verses that I like very much, and says what? Jesus was moved with compassion for the suffering. So it's not just about eating, it's not just about exercise, it's not just about, keeping the Sabbath. Is about as well our relationship with us and others. We live, as I said, in stressful life, stressful, let's say, society. And this is a good advice. Transform a threat into a challenge appraisal. What it says in the Bible, love your enemies, correct? So imagine when we have these colleagues at work making our nerves, or the neighbor that did something that we didn't like it, or the brother, the sister that sat down in our chair, that's my chair in the church. Don't be stressed about that. Just saying, help to convert the stressful situations in blessings, right? And sometimes we need to learn how to develop these things, but they are already actually written in the Bible how to do that. Love your enemies. And don't worry, and they don't need to be our enemies, but just learn how to go over these situations. Take up restorative activity. What do you think this is about? Do you have any idea what is restorative activity? I can tell you in a way very simple. Make a good action today. What was your good action today? If you have not done it, you still have half of the day. Okay? Children, do you want to make a good action? Help your mom or dad to set up the table this lunchtime. Right? If a friend of you is not feeling well, give a word of encouragement. Right? If someone needs a lift home, just give a lift home. Sometimes just give a hug to someone that you feel confident to do it. Say hello to our Newbold students. Make a good action. It will make you feel good. When we make good actions, there is a chemical in our bodies that is released called dopamine. And the dopamine, when it's released in certain quantities, makes us feel happy. And this as well helps on our telomeres. Evaluate sources of intense stress. One day Jesus said, "My peace I give you. I do not give you as the world gives, but Jesus gives us peace." So this is the Bible verse that should be in our memories all the time, or at least when we find stresses, we should all the time to think about this. And this verse, I always associate it with something, and this is more a personal view. In our world, in nowadays, there are a lot of these speakers who, through money or not money or selling of books or CDs, they look like having the secret formula for you to be happy and avoid stress, right? And you know what's happened? The person comes and says a lot of nice things that you like to hear and saying, everything is in your power. And I will tell you how to avoid the stress and how to cope with the stress. And they carry on doing that, right? But they are missing something on their selling point, that is God's love. And you know what happened when people usually leave that places? After a few days, it's like the New Year resolution. You forgot all about it. While you were there, you're saying, yes, yes, oh, this man speaks really good. But then you leave, you forgot. You know why? Because usually these no-Christian speakers, they forget to tell you that actually the key to happiness and to be positive, it's God's love. Without God's love, you cannot just be happy. That's why on this verse it says, I do not give you as the world gives. The world cannot understand the peace that God gives us. Finally, and this is my last slide, I don't want to delay your lunch, I think it was clear the way we can increase or maintain our telomeres. And I like this verse, says, I will give thanks to you, Lord, with all my heart. I will tell you all of your wonderful deeds. I will be glad and rejoice in you. I will sing the praises of your name, O Most High. And I think the secret, if I can call secret, to a good telomere maintenance, it's totally resumed in this verse. I would like to thank very much to the praise team, to the musicians, to the singers. And you know, when we come this morning and when we are here and we are singing and we are praising God, I can tell you, the cells of your body are so happy and your telomeres are so appreciative of your praises, and you always leave Sabbath mornings with a bit extra basis in your telomeres. I can tell you that for sure. And because music, good music, or at least I'm not discussing here what is the best music, classic or Lady Gaga or whatsoever you want to think about. If you have a good music, if it's a music that you love and makes you feel well, that music promotes the growth and the well-being of your telomeres. And this verse basically says, be thankful to God for all the wonders and for all the blessings that He gives to you. That is my message for this morning. I wish you to have a very good telomere maintenance, and let me know if you feel any changes. Just let me know. Maybe one day we can write an article that we could say the telomere effect on the Seventh-day Adventist population. But anyway, regarding to the book, it's a very good book, as I said. I'm not here advertising the book because I was not paid for that. But, but if you are curious, before reading this book, I will advise to read The Ministry of Healing, right, by Ellen White, and Education. And then after you read these two books, read this one. And you're going to see that when you read this one, is basically what is written more than 100 years ago. And we have Nobel Prize winners just getting all these prizes. But anyway, Sister White already said all about it. But they are good scientists because, you know, they do research. So God gave us all the time. You know, God has created us. But, you know, through sin, we would not going so well. And he gave us all the secrets for a longer life and healthier life. Amen.